Welcome to the Mom and podcast. I'm Missy Stevens, mom and writer, foster child advocate, and this week navigator of health insurance. Because this week's big news is my toe is still fractured. So I'm trying to figure out what's next.
Oh no.
That's so much fun.
I'm
And I've been
so
walking
sorry.
around on it for 7 months.
Oh
Oh,
no.
boy.
Did I know you had a fractured toe?
No, because I
She
didn't
even
either.
know.
No, I thought I was all done. And I am not. So that's me.
Oh, no. Okay. And I'm Suzanne Kearns, mom and writer, LGBTQ and sex ed advocate. And this week I am wishing that anything worked the way that it is supposed to. That can be gutters. That can be my roof. That can be my son's new miracle brace. That is why I have to get off this call immediately at 4:00 because we're zooming about the part that feels weird. So anyway, I just want anything to just work, please.
That's asking a lot. You're asking a lot.
Including your
We all
toe.
are. We're all asking a lot.
Yes.
I just want my passwords to work. I think
Oh,
yeah,
passwords
they
for
don't.
sure. Okay, yeah. We're such downers today.
I just change them every time. I'm like, forgot it. Give me a new one.
Mhm.
Well, our guest today and I go way, way back, all the way to March of this year,
yes.
when we rode the Hampton Jitney together to and from the Zibby conference in the Hamptons because we're fancy.
Is the
And
Hampton
we are
Jitney that
just-
plane that looks like you're flying it, like it fits
Oh
two
no,
people?
it's not a plane. It's a bus.
Oh, oh, my
It is
husband's
very much a bus.
fancy. Oh, you think you're fancy? When my husband goes to conferences on Nantucket, he does this weird little plane that looks like
Oh,
so
I'm
tiny,
glad
like
we
you're
don't do
flying.
that.
Okay.
I'd rather ride the bus.
Yeah,
No,
I'll take the bus any day.
Mhm.
We are really, really excited to have Anne Garvin here today. Anne is the USA Today bestselling author of 5 funny and sad novels. She writes about people who do too much in a world that asks too much of them.
Hallelujah.
I know, it's so great. Anne worked as an RN, and then after receiving her PhD, she taught exercise physiology, sports psychology, nutrition, stress management, and global health for 30 years in the University of Wisconsin system. She currently teaches creative writing at Drexel University in their low residency Masters of Fine Arts program and has held positions at Miami University and Southern New Hampshire in their Masters of Fine Arts creative writing programs. Anne is the founder of the multiple award-winning Tall Poppy Writers, where she is committed to helping women writers succeed. She is a sought-after speaker on writing, leadership, and health, and has taught extensively in New York, San Francisco, LA, Boston, and at festivals across the country and in Europe. And we get to have her here today. Welcome.
Yay!
What a ridiculous bio. It's such a ridiculous
It's
bio. honestly.
amazing. And
It's
we're a
fabulous.
festival in our own right, really. I mean,
I start to get embarrassed right around 30 years of teaching, and then it's
I know. Just relish in it. Just relish in it.
No, you've earned every single one of those years. So really awesome. And now, okay, so since I have not ridden the jitney or whatever with you, I need some more information, especially our listeners do too. So even though we learned a little bit about you in your bio, can you help fill in some of the bits about what you do?
Yeah. Well, let's see. I'm a mom of 2 girls who are grownish and out on their own now, a single mom. And let's see what else. I've kind of done a lot of different careers through my life, not just for any other reason except that I'm very interested in everything. And then whenever I meet someone or they're doing something that I really admire, I think, now I have to do that.
Yeah.
I
Which
love
is
it.
enough to make everybody a little bit crazy. So for many years I did theater, and then I tried stand up, and then I did triathlons for a while, and then I made applique pillows when I lost my mind briefly. And so I've just got a lot of curiosity, and then I like to do it, and then I usually move on. But the good thing about writing is that I'm never going to be a master, and so I don't think I'll ever get bored with it.
Yes.
And every story is starting anew every time. So I never feel like, oh, this is in the bag, So I like that because that'll just probably keep me doing it forever.
Yes.
And
You're a
that's,
startist.
what
What's
I
that
want.
book again, Missy?
By Becky Blades.
What is that?
So she's great. Her whole thing is just start it. Just
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
And it's
Start
okay
more than
if
you can
don't-
finish.
Yeah, you don't
Mhm.
have to finish it all, and you don't have to be all in on it. Just start the thing.
Mhm.
And I just love
Yeah,
her.
and
So
you don't
both
have to
link
be the
her.
best at it, right? You don't
Mm-hmm.
like I was a very marginal triathlete, but I loved it when I did it, and then I moved on, and, I was a very marginal person in theater, and I liked it, and then I moved on. Well, it gets hard
Mhm.
to do some of those things, like, once you have kids, you can't do anything because I
Right.
mean, right? You
They
can
ruin
you
everything.
Yeah, and
yeah.
that's the end of the podcast. Sorry.
Right. No, I know. Like, listen, I had a friend that said to me, if you want to ruin your marriage, have kids. And it was a full sentence. Like, no is a full sentence,
Mm,
so is that. And I was like, okay. Yep.
okay then.
Oh,
World changing to
it
have those
is world
children.
changing. But that's the whole point of the podcast, though, is to find the things that we
Yeah.
can do when you still have kids around or
Right.
at
You
different
can.
stages while they start to become a little bit more self
Yep.
sufficient, less dangerous to
Yeah.
themselves.
I started, older for most writers, but then, they were little. They were sleeping when I was writing.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I wrote on soccer fields. I wrote in parking lots. I wrote, in hallways. All the
Yeah.
time because they were little and I wanted to write. And the nice thing about writing is that you can do it with a piece of paper or you can do it on a computer and it's
Yep.
all in your head. You don't need a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Yes. I
So
love
it
that.
I
is
do.
I think it's a really good thing for people to do,
Mhm.
And even if it doesn't get published, I think, I think it was
Yes.
who was it? Joan Didion that said I write to try to figure out what I think. And that is
Mhm.
so true of me.
Yes.
So true of me. It's
Yes.
fantastic therapy, and I was never a kind of person that journaled.
No, me either.
And, no, I mean,
Yes.
I have 75 Dear Diaries started,
Uh-huh.
right?
Mhm. Yeah,
You
or I
know?
might write a few and then I look back at them and think that's the worst, cringiest thing anyone's ever written. It is so stupid.
Yes. And
And
if I
off it
get
goes,
hit
I
by a
throw it
bus,
away.
someone's gonna find them and then read
Yeah. I
them.
remember when I was trying to write down, like, my dreams, I think I saw it in, like, teen magazine sometime, and then I had to, like, scramble around and find a dream, and I found it once, and I it's like, "I dream that I'll jump out of a balloon or something, or ride in a balloon and jump out of an airplane." I thought, "No, you don't. I never wanted that." But it seemed like something that teen magazine would like.
That's funny, the book I was reading last night, that guy just jumped out of a hot air balloon, so maybe
Oh,
Oh,
that
no,
is
thank you.
someone's dream. Yeah.
Not
Someone
mine.
caught him.
yeah.
Someone
Not
caught him.
mine. I want to talk a little bit about your writing career because it kind of started with a contest. And you just wrote about that in your
I
most
did.
recent newsletter. So we'll link
Mhm.
to the newsletter. But was entering that contest truly a whim, or did you
Oh, yeah.
have this like inner writer lady who wanted out? It just
Well,
happened?
I was reading and every time I say this, I feel like Lori Moore and Elizabeth Berg get a little stab in their eyeball and they don't know where it came from. But like
Mhm.
those two women, like Lori Moore wrote this sort of dark, funny, and sad stuff. And when I read her early short story collections like Life, and I was so enamored with her writing that I thought finally it was a voice that really spoke to me in a way that I thought, oh, this is how I think. Like,
Mm,
this is how I do it. And then I read a lot of Elizabeth Berg, her early work
Ugh,
is so beautifully done,
yes.
both heartbreaking, but also very funny.
Hmm.
And I thought, these are two women that are really aligning with my thought process. But I remember thinking, like, how do you even start thinking about I had no idea, really no idea. I couldn't even think of because people told me all the time, like, "Oh, you write such funny letters. You should write books." And I was like, the stories are my life. Like, I don't know what a story is. So yes, it was absolutely there was a thing, and I heard what it was, and it was like you had a picture and you had 24 hours to do it, and I just saw it, and I'd gone to the Wisconsin Book Festival on many years in a row when it what used to be a really amazing thing that lasted only like a week long, and it was something all over town. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And so I went to it, and I actually got to meet some of my favorite authors there. So when they had the writing thing, I thought, oh, this is a way that I can kind of be in the festival, like, in it, right? So, yeah,
mm.
so then it was $10, and all you had to do is get it done in a day and send it back, and I had my girlfriend put the commas in, and then I mailed it off. So it was so that because it was so directly out of my head onto the page so quickly, it was so rewarding then because
Yes.
I was like, "Oh my god, like, what? Somebody liked that and they gave me an award for it?" Like, I couldn't believe it.
Oh,
So
that's
that's what
awesome.
and it was the first time for me that opened up the idea that, oh, you think of something in your head, you put a picture in your head and you write about that picture. And then
Mhm.
I and then it was really nothing for me after that to think of a scenario, picture that scenario, and then write a story around it.
Oh, that's a good
It was
writing tip.
yeah,
Yes.
it was like it like literally was like somebody took a little thing and went like
Boop.
that in my brain, and I went, "Holy cow,
Oh, I love
that's how
that.
you do it?" Yeah, and I'm probably honestly, I don't know what would have happened or if I would have ever written anything had I not had such an unbelievable positive experience
Yeah.
from that. Like, if I
Right.
hadn't won, I think I would have been like, "Oh, well," and gone on and made more pillows or something, but,
Well,
you know?
thank goodness you did.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know what I would have done. I really don't know. Maybe it
yeah.
would have maybe without the win, I would have thought, "Oh, this is how you do it," and then tried again or something,
Yeah.
Maybe.
but the
Yeah.
feedback was, like, so amazing. And I actually am always a little embarrassed to say this, but it was probably one of the happiest days of my entire life.
Oh, I love that. That
I
you
don't
Yeah,
think
get to
I
that's
mean
really
embarrassing at
soak in
all.
it. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
like, having my babies was sorta happy because it hurt so much, you're like, "This is, like, great happy." Like, this didn't
Yeah.
hurt. There was no blood loss, nobody stitching anything up afterwards,
Right. No
marriage
no
was
postpartum
good.
depression afterwards.
Right. I mean, my wedding day was beautiful, but they got the flowers wrong, and you know what I mean? Like, this was just,
This
like,
is perfect.
amazing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
Well, okay. And so you've done amazing stuff with your writing, but that is a big pivot from what your studies in college were, as
Mm.
far as
mm,
if you were doing exercise physiology, correct?
yeah,
Which
and
I've
sports
and
psychology.
sports psychology. That's so interesting. My daughter's
I
looking
know.
at maybe doing a physical therapy track type of
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
She's very
Yep.
fascinated in a lot of that. So then maybe she'll become a writer too. But
Mm,
but
We're an
was
artist.
that a tricky pivot for you? We talked to a lot of authors who were former lawyers. I think that's probably one of our number one categories.
Yeah.
But
yes.
that really have pivoted from these other masters or doctorates or what is it called when you do the law
J
degree?
Law degrees.
Yeah, I don't
JD,
know.
Juris
JDs.
Doctor.
Yeah,
JD. Yeah.
whatever degree you get for that.
Yeah.
So I mean, you put a lot of work and effort and time into this particular field and then veer into this writing world. So I'm guessing that there was some risk in that, probably financial and
Well, it was, but not really because, well, I worked all the way. I only just stopped teaching in 2018.
okay.
Okay.
And by then I was able to retire from teaching to do that. So I get a small thing,
Yeah.
for that. And because of my retirement, I still have life insurance for like 10 years or health insurance for like 10 years.
Mm.
Oh,
So
nice.
because I'm single, I don't have that in my,
Right.
life. So had none of those things worked well, I'd still be teaching because health insurance is so expensive. I doubt very much I would have been able to stop.
Mm,
Mhm.
Um, I started to write as far as like the brain, sort of like the creative versus the sciencey brain. To be a nurse and even to be a scientist, you have to be really good at critical thinking and you have to be really good at empathy. And that's what writing is. Because you
mm,
have to ask the questions like, what if, wait, what if this happened? That's critical thinking, taking things at face value. Like I'm going to write a story about that lady that went down the street is one thing, and then critical thinking is, what if she rode up onto the sidewalk and into a car, right? So
mhm,
Yeah.
that's like, and then what happened? And then who is she? And then why did she do that? That's all science. Because
Mhm.
when you're doing science, you're like, I wonder how people feel after they exercise, and I wonder if they watch really hot people exercise, if it ruins their high. You know what I mean? So like,
mhm.
it's the same. You're just telling a story, and in fact, the truth is that's true. It does ruin their high.
I was
I
about
did
to
that research.
say, yes.
Mm, yeah.
I don't know the
So,
science, but I
yeah,
know the emotion, so
Well, now,
right.
okay, I'm wondering, hot like good looking or hot like they're
Like
hot?
hot, like buff,
hot like
Okay,
like
sexy.
super fit, like super
okay,
fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. Just because
So,
it's like 100 million degrees in Texas today, I was like,
oh, not
yeah,
that
just
hot.
watching like hot people. Yeah, that makes me not want to work out for sure.
No, not that kind of hot. Like
So
sexy
like
hot
when your
or like
endorphins, we're
fit hot.
totally getting off track, but like when your endorphins all kick in, 'cause you're like, I had this great workout, I'm doing great. And then you look across the room and you see Mr. Hottie McHotterpants and his girlfriend.
Yes.
Then you're like, never mind.
I gotta
Well,
go
I
eat
Is
think
that
some
what
there's
14
some
happens?
donuts.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people feel good after exercise. And, some of it is endorphin potentially, and some of it is like accomplishment, and some of it
Yeah.
is, it was good for me. And some of it is, I've got a weird body image. And so then you see somebody who is doing less or the same or whatever, and you don't know their story and you start to feel bad about yourself. But yeah, I mean, all of that question and answering kind of thing comes from science. And when I was teaching, the thing about teaching undergrads for 30 years is that no one ever learns because they're done and gone, and you get another class of people who don't know
Oh,
anything. And
yes.
so,
Yeah.
you never see anybody kind of continuously get better or grow.
Oh.
So it's 30 years of you guys again. So and then the other thing is, like, at the end of the semester, people would be like, that was the most amazing thing. It changed my life. And I'd think, maybe I can reach more people if my voice can be put in a fiction story. And so that's made me think I'm going to keep doing that, because I just felt like I just needed a bigger space. Like, I really
Right.
felt like, because my whole thing in writing is about, I write about people who do too much in a world that asks too much from them. So what that means is you're going to get all the wackos. And I think we're all a little wacko.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I don't think there's
We're
a
all a
single
little
person. I
wacko.
always say I love a good weirdo, and I think everybody's a weirdo. And I want people to feel better about being weirdos. I think walking around feeling like you're not being affected or whatever our problems are just makes us feel worse. And then we don't understand other people's weaknesses.
Right.
And I want so much for people to laugh at the dumb things that we do and feel better about them. And I think
Yes.
that that's the key to health, actually, is to sort of understand that we're all just humans and not machines. And I wanted them to understand that losing weight is hard and getting fit is hard, and everybody just relax a little bit and feel okay about being a human.
Yes.
So my
Yeah.
message is always that, just like, if you could just feel okay about being a human, we wouldn't be so mad at everybody else all the time.
And
We're,
what do you say? You said one of my favorite things ever in March when we met about we're just goo.
we're just goo.
Yeah.
We're very dressed up, pretty goo, but we're goo. Every one of us. Even
Just like the great equalizer. We're just goo.
we're just goo. Just
Bunch
like
of
Paulina, the
cells.
prettiest goo ever, but she's no more goo, less goo than we are, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
Paulina Poroskova was at this conference or this retreat where we
oh
were.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, stunning. My God, she's stunning. But
Yeah.
yeah, she's also just a goo
She
A
dressed
just
up
goo
goo.
girl. She's just goo.
I was just listening to the We Can Do Hard Things podcast, and they had on these two people who had just written. It's called "If I Were a Fish." I guess it went viral on TikTok.
Oh.
Um, but it was
Yes,
this
a little song.
yeah,
Yes.
because
Oh.
Yeah.
one of them's
Mhm.
non-binary.
Mhm.
They're in a relationship, but they were
Yeah.
just talking about how everything's so anti-LGBTQ or it's anti-fat or anti-whatever, and they're like, it's this cute little song like "If I Was a Fish," and they're like, "If I was a fish, if I was the biggest one, like you'd be a winner, like that, like you'd be like showing me off that's so exciting." Or like if I was this fish and I was really colorful and crazy, like that'd be the coolest fish in the aquarium. You just don't want the
Right.
boring plain fish. But since I'm a human, like it
Right.
was so cute. I had never heard
So
this song
cute.
before, but it's so true. Like think about if you were anything other than a human, if you were like
Yeah.
really, extravagant and big and exciting and colorful and shiny, like that would be like the most
You'd be a
amazing one
winner.
in the zoo. Yeah,
Mhm.
you wouldn't want to just the basic one. Anyway.
Right. But we hide our candle under a bushel all the time so that we don't look
Yeah.
too odd or too weird or whatever. And,
Yes.
I just can't, I can't have it. When I meet people, I don't want them to feel intimidated. So I kind of just want to be normal and natural in front of people. I don't want anyone thinking I don't have a PhD. Like, I just think it doesn't matter. None of it
Yeah.
matters. What really
Yeah.
matters is that you care about humanity.
Yeah.
That's what matters to
Yeah.
me. That's what matters to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I love the
Yeah.
focus on that we are all weird and just let us be weird. And one of the things you've said about your writing, because you do embrace the weirdo and you do write the funny and the sad together, which speaks to me. I just love it so
I know
much.
that's your
That's
favorite.
that's how I like my people. That's how I like my
Yeah.
writing. I like it if you can make me laugh and cry in the same page or the same conversation, like we're in. That's it.
Same.
But you have mentioned that like publishers didn't know what to do with you. They
Oh,
acted like that was so foreign. They didn't know where you put you on the bookshelves.
yep,
And I think even people who aren't writers have probably had this struggle with like, this is who I am.
yep.
This is what I have to say.
Mhm.
And it's right and it makes sense. And so how did you find that? Like, where did that confidence come from? Did you have it at the outset or did you have to work through some growing pains to advocate for your work?
Well, I think there's a couple of things, and I'm just thinking about it right now. I read a lot of literary work, which allows you to write, more unusual stuff,
Yeah.
but I have more of a contemporary voice. So
Mhm.
that's a little tricky right there because the first book I pitched was about a woman who was pregnant and moved to her hometown because she thought it was the safest place to raise her child. And a sex offender lives on her street and she wants to get him out. But she does not a very powerful person. So she like sends him pizza and hopes he dies of heart disease. Like she's
It's a real
screws.
slow game.
Yeah, she's a real
That's a
slow game.
long con.
Yeah. He steals his light bulbs at the end of his porch and it's like, I am a badass. Like she's not, right? And so, like, that was and then I would say but it's funny, and they'd be like, "Sex offenders aren't funny," and I'd be like, "No, you're right, they're not." I mean, it was just not easy, but then I found, my first editor at Penguin, and she did get me, but even then, they didn't know how to m make the covers, they don't and I would say that's true even now. I think that the covers look wackier than the books are, and
Yeah.
I think that makes it a little bit difficult for people to know because they think, "Oh, this is gonna be a light read that I can read on the beach," and then they're, like, texting me and saying, "I'm sobbing right
Oh,
now,
Lord.
you dick." You know? I'd be like, "I know, I just" so I don't know how you
Sorry.
put funny and sad on a book cover. I think it's still very hard to market it, you know? And then
Yes.
once I wrote a funny and sad thriller, and they were like, "Absolutely not. No." And so that is still not out there in the world. I'm hoping that one of these days it will get out there
The
because
Venn
it's
diagram of these things is not
yeah. They
overlapping.
were like, "You go right to bed. You're drunk. Like, stop it." I
They're like,
had the whole
everything has to start somewhere. Like,
it I
y
mean,
y
it does, right?
you
I
might
guess
be the
they weren't
first one.
yeah. So I'm hoping that I can eventually rewrite that one too because I think it's such a good idea, and I wrote the whole book, it just needs to be kind
Yeah.
of rewritten
I
now,
think
but
Harlan
Yeah.
Coben writes funny thrillers.
mine is funny and sad thrillers. They're like, "There's
Yeah.
3 things, you have
Yeah.
to pick a lane."
I think Harlan does that too
Does he?
sometimes. Like, he has some gut punchy things, and especially in his recent stuff, I don't feel like has that same feeling for me,
Yeah,
but the Myron Bolitar's kind of the early ones, like,
yeah,
Myron and his crew of weirdos are very funny, but the sad things happen. They deal with death and loss and, identity issues and all of this stuff, and then there's a mystery and a thriller all wrapped up in there. Like, I
yeah.
don't know, like, but they can if they can publish Harlan, who happens to be a man, they can probably find a place for a woman as well. I just don't know.
I
Yeah,
I
I feel
think
like it's out
that
there.
I think it might be time or soonish time for that book. It's coming around, I think, because the book that I'm writing right now that's going to be due in October, that one, it was another book that was probably the closest to my heart that I couldn't sell, and now I did sell it. So
Oh.
I
Nice.
think there might be time now.
Mhm.
We might be getting there. Yeah. And
It was just too
certainly,
soon.
I think that, they don't want to take any risks on people that are newish or haven't sold a lot. And so my last book sold so well. So I'm getting a little bit more trust, I think, for just kind
Nice.
of all around trust, which is nice. And I publish, for the traditional arm of Amazon, and they are the most amazing. I will sing their praises to the ends of the earth because they are unbelievably professional and unbelievably amazing to work with.
Oh,
Good to
If
know.
I never go back, it will be fine with me. If they will
Wow,
take me forever, I will publish with them forever. Which
really?
that's
yeah,
a
don't
ringing
tell that
endorsement.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't wanna that's not to say I don't understand the, small bookstores, indie bookstores, and how difficult it is, but, as an author who is just trying to be an author and write
Right.
those books that get sold in those bookstores, I can't say enough about them. They have done an incredible job from start to finish with me.
Wow.
I can't even think of something they've done that I didn't like.
Wow.
Yep,
All
Brought
right.
to you by Amazon.
I know.
Hello,
I
Amazon.
know. Yep. I could just imagine the eye rolls if this went wide, but I do feel that way. I feel like And believe me, I mean, I was published by Penguin, I was published by Simon and Schuster. I've been out there and I see it and I know it, and they are amazing to me.
That's good to know.
So, mhm.
That's
it's a
good to know.
shame. I understand it 100%. It's such a shame that there is this hierarchy in literature, both as far as genre is concerned, but also publisher,
Mhm.
of
Yes.
in within the traditional publishing market. I'm not talking about indie publishing. That's a completely different thing. But within the indie publishing market, I think it's a terrible shame that there's such a hierarchy,
Yeah.
between genres, within genres, between and within houses. It
Yeah.
seems
Right.
like it just turns, it turns this art into a competitive sort of bitchy business that it just doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
Right. It sucks
Well,
from some of that joy of just
Yeah,
telling your story and get it out to the world.
it's very tough in that regard. Yeah. But I
well,
but I have had a great experience all the way.
well, and that flows nicely into talking a little bit about tall poppy writers
We
as
can't
far as
not
things
talk
that
about
bring
that.
joy into the writing.
Yeah.
So first of all, can you explain a little bit about what tall poppy writers is
Yeah.
and where that idea came from and what the mission is of that?
Yeah. So when I learned about this called the tall poppy syndrome, and the tall poppy syndrome is a social syndrome of the idea that often it's with women. A professional woman grows successful in her career. There is a sort of a feeling that others will cut her down and not support her and bring her down to size. It's probably a male oriented thing as well. However, it was measured, I think, particularly in professional women. It was called the tall poppy syndrome. When one grows up, you cut it off. And
Hmm.
so I had that in mind. And also, when my first book came out, I had pneumonia, and on the day of my divorce, it came out.
Oh,
And
jeez.
Oh,
I know. And it was
happy
2010. So,
book pub day.
right. Twitter was like started, I don't know when, but nobody was on it.
Yeah.
I had just started it. Social media was not a thing. There was really no way to do it. And I couldn't get into my small town paper because some kid kept getting 3 pointers and they were putting him on they were like, we had to bump you again. I was, oh, he's in eighth grade.
You're like, can this kid just miss one time?
I know. I like, what's happening?
Okay, instead of starting sending pizzas, what you do is you go like put some slippery ice or something in front of his
No joke,
house.
like the baseball bat from like Tanya Harding days.
Yeah.
So I just thought I'm never gonna make it in this field. I'm never gonna sell any books. I'm never gonna make it. So then I was like, I don't understand why we don't do the things that we used to do with what we do with bands. Like there's an opening band, right?
Mm,
And I kept thinking, why aren't people that's so dumb? And
It's
why aren't
genius.
publishers putting it together and why aren't they doing it? So I said to two authors who were in town, Erin Solello and then Susan Gloss, I went, you guys, I think we should do this. I made a PowerPoint, I remember. And they were like, great, let's do it. We're both pregnant. And but little by little, I just was like, our one mission is we are going to not compete and we're going to lift each other up. And everybody's going to do a little bit of work to do it. And we're going to make our way in. And I think, except for, romance people and some other, like cozy mystery people, they were doing this long ago. But we
Mhm.
are across genre with diversity. And
Mhm.
so we did not gatekeep anybody's books from anyone. Lots of people say, well, my readers, they just don't read XYZ. And you're like, you don't know what your readers read.
You don't.
mm.
Everybody that was, reading a lot of literary fiction, we're also reading 50 Shades of Grey. So don't even start with me. People are reading all kinds of things and sometimes they're
Right.
embarrassed about it and whatever, but people read across genre. And I
Mhm.
was like, why would we gatekeep? Why wouldn't everyone get it done? And so that's why I think that we got well known is because we just were kind of a constant thing shouting out each other. It's hard. It's hard to run that thing.
Yeah.
But I'm like so devoted to the idea of women not competing and helping each other.
Mhm.
And we do it as much as we can. Like we never ask anyone to pay. We put everybody into our Instagrams or into our social media in our Bloom and our reading group. We never make anyone do anything ever to get in with us. They can't all be poppies because I cannot manage more than like 37,
Right.
which is what we have. And we've narrowed it down to a very small amount of things that we do. But so we can't take on a ton of poppies, but we absolutely will support anybody that interacts with us in most ways. And it's been great. Like it's been some of my best friends have been poppies and aren't poppies
Mhm.
anymore, or are current poppies. They're some of my closest friends in the writing world. So it's been a great thing. I didn't realize how much of a great thing it would be when I started it. I just needed somebody to talk about me, and I didn't want to talk about me anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
So now how do you select who is the puppy? Like, how does that
So, you
happen?
know, how we essentially do it is if somebody drops out and we get an opening,
Mhm.
one or two openings, then we look to see who has been interacted with us most in the community. Like, we look to see who has obviously the same viewpoint as us. Like, I'm going to help them and I don't care whether they help me or not, which is exactly how I feel about it. And, people sort of bubble to the surface then.
Mhm.
And then the poppies can recommend someone, and we take a look at them, we talk to them, we look at their feeds, and we talk about how much energy they have and if it's something they wanna do. That's not a very scientific way of doing it, but that's how we do it because I've done it other ways in the past, and, it doesn't work very well. You sort of have to get the feel of somebody to get them to come in, because not everybody a lot of people are just like, "I have a book coming out, I wanna be a poppy for a year," and you're like,
That's
that's
not
not how
gonna
it
cut it.
works."
Mm.
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
like, "You're in it for the long haul, or you're not in it at all," and honestly, it doesn't make sense to do it in the short term. That's not how you market books. These are relationships you're building, and, as
Yeah.
much as people think, "Oh, I just have to get my cover out there," it's actually not that.
Mm-mm.
Because the interesting thing is, like, you can see that the cover is out there all the time and people either sometimes buy it and sometimes they don't, but
Right.
if I'm doing a talk in front of a group, I can sell my books. It's a
Right.
relationship. I built a relationship in that talk, and
Mhm.
At
now
some
they're
point, if you see
interested.
the cover over and over again, you're just like, "Well, I've seen that 100 times."
A
Like,
100 times, I don't even wanna look at it, and
Yeah.
often I
right.
think we have sort of there's a couple of things, but I don't know about you, but I can be kind of a brat. If I see it too many times, I won't look at it.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
won't
yeah.
read it just to be a
Yeah.
dick, I
If I
think.
see it too many times, sometimes I think 'cause I already read it.
Yeah, there's that
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, surely I bought that. It's in my
Yeah.
face every day.
Yeah, I think I read that. Yeah.
Certainly, I
So,
already own it.
yeah. So that's kind of
Ah,
where it came from, and, it's made me a real feminist, even more so.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
because I think that our natural ability, I think there's a linguist, her name is she wrote a book called You Just Don't Understand Me, Deborah Tannen, and she always said that men's natural way is sort of a hierarchy and women's natural is collaborative, and I thought,
Mhm.
I mean, I see that all the time, and I think
Yep.
if we just sort of lean into that, and I think that we have adopted the hierarchical structure because we've been brought up in the patriarchy, but I don't think
Right.
it's our natural way.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think the tall poppy syndrome comes from being brought up in the patriarchy, and being taught that we
Mhm.
need to compete, and then not given us the power, so we cut people down to size behind their backs. And I think that's a natural progression of the patriarchy. And
Yeah.
when I say the patriarchy, I say that it's not good for men or women. I'm not saying men are bad. I'm just saying it's not good for anybody.
The
Yeah.
system's
It's
not
the
good for
system,
anybody.
not
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
man.
it's not. It doesn't help anyone.
Yeah.
No. We do
People in
more
charge.
together.
Yeah, people in charge don't always wanna be in charge, they might wanna cry and not be in charge, but if so I think that those kinds of things are really they're sort of antithetical to what I really want, which is feel good and have people work together, and so that's why the poppies now, has it always worked that way? No. Have we had fights within the poppies? Yes. We had a mass leaving in the middle of COVID, and there were some
Oh,
very angry poppies at Garvin, and that's the way it is. There's a very funny comedian, I think her name is it Wolf? Melissa Wolf? She's
Michelle
one of my
Wolf.
favorite, Michelle Wolf.
Michelle
I love
Wolf.
her so much.
She's
And
fantastic.
she said, she goes, if you think you're a nice lady and you're in charge of something, there's whole email strings saying what a not a nice lady you are. And I thought, that's true.
Oh, that makes
Yeah,
me
it's
so
hard to be in
sad.
charge.
It's
It's
hard to
hard to
be
be
in
in
charge.
charge.
Cutting
Yeah.
down your poppy.
Yeah.
Oh.
So,
Yeah.
but I think that over the years, I would say generally over the years, we've had this amazing, fun, supportive group. It's just a couple of times that we've had some
That's
bumps in the
life.
road.
Yeah.
That's
But
life.
every organization is gonna be like that. Look at Uber,
Yeah.
good God, you
Right.
know?
Right. There's growing pains. Things change. It's
Yeah.
Yep,
hard.
Yeah, and you
Yes.
learn. You start to learn what can you expect from people, what can't you expect, and that kind of thing. And it's
Right.
been, yeah. Hmm.
Right. Yeah, and sometimes it's not for someone even though they thought it was.
Right.
That just
Absolutely. Yeah.
happens.
Hmm.
All right, I'm looking at the time, and I know
Yes, it's
Suzanne has
quarter
a
two
heart out.
already.
I know, we go so
So
fast.
oh, it goes so fast. So I have one really selfish question because it's
Hmm.
our podcast. I can do what I want.
Yes, you
Um,
can.
but I'm so curious, and I imagine there are other people listening too who are just curious about some process stuff. You do a lot of research when you write. Like, for I thought you said this would work. You went to an animal sanctuary,
Yeah.
and for your upcoming book, which is coming out in August, correct?
Hmm. Hmm.
There's no coming back from this. It's a lot of like costume and wardrobe stuff from LA. So I'm just curious how that works. Like, say you want to go research something, are organizations receptive to that? To having a
Oh,
writer come skulk around?
well, some yes and some no, because I was going to write a book at the Mall of America, and I wrote them a question about, like if I could come in and see their emergency proceedings, and it was like cricket. So I think that they're
Yeah.
not gonna, they're gonna like get away from me. But yeah, I've had such unbelievable acceptance and, welcoming from the places that I've gone. And I think a lot of it is because no one ever really asked them what they do. Like I think
Mhm.
like everybody goes to the best friend's animal sanctuary in Utah and it's like, let me hold the puppies. But nobody is like, but where do you find them? How do you do it? How do you find the volunteers? How do you organize the volunteers? Where do they all go? What are the pigs doing? Like, I wanted to
Yeah.
know everything. Like, what are the
Mhm.
doorknobs like? And they're like, actually, we spent a lot of time talking about doorknobs. And then I get to hear,
No one cares.
right.
Yeah,
And
they're like,
so
"Tell us."
right. And so, like, when I went to the costumers, I was talking to this one for a long time, and she said, "What I like about talking about you is you literally don't care about the movie stars." And I'm like, "I literally don't. I want to know
Mm.
what the bench seats look like in the wardrobe trailer at Universal Studios outside one of the studios. What does it
Yeah.
look like?" And she was like, "I will show you." So, like,
Yeah.
I wasn't opposed if they gave me some celebrity gossip, but then I was like, "That's funny. Now can you show me something else? Like, show me the
Yeah.
Right.
pages. Where do you do the try-ons? Like, how do you get celebrities in there?" And
Right.
I do take notes for sure, and I take a lot of photographs. But once I've been there and
Mhm.
lived it, like, I find that everything comes together, and honestly, I can't write the book until I've been there and seen, because like,
Mhm.
depending on what's happening or how far one thing is from another, or you learn some rule and you're like, "Oh, that would be a great plot
Oh,
twist,"
that's cool.
right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, the research really helps me, and the other thing that helps me is, like, for example, both Utah and also in LA, when you come to a new place, you're an outsider, and when you're an outsider, you observe differently.
Mm,
And
mhm.
so you're observing it through the lens of wherever you're used to. And
Mhm.
so you see things that they don't see. And then you're writing it in whatever point of view, and you're seeing it from that point of view.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people go wrong when they don't actually go there. Now, I'm not saying that everybody can always afford it or whatever, but actually, I mean, it was pretty cheap because everything was free. Like everybody just sort of brought me in on everything and let me do everything. I just sort of center myself into those observations and then I can see it. And I think that's the best thing about changing, like, when you're writing, you need to go to other places, other states, other things that you haven't done because it
Mhm.
exercises your observation brain a little
Right.
bit, and it
Mm.
helps you sort of go, "I never noticed that." And then when you come home, you start to notice things
Oh,
differently until
uh-huh.
you get, drowned again in your stuff, but it helped, and I think when I was young, I moved from New Jersey to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and I went and it was such a different thing. I think that was the moment in life that I became a writer probably because my
Mhm.
observation was so, because I had to watch everybody very closely so I didn't get the crap beat out of me,
Yeah.
you
Right,
know?
you had to figure out how to assimilate.
Yeah, I mean, my
Yeah.
nickname was Whiskers in the first week I was there, and I was like, this is not happening." It was so miserable, and I just thought,
Oh.
"How can I not be the person that's a weirdo?"
Mhm.
And I had to
Oh.
watch what everybody did, you know? So, I think that really helped me. I think writing is as much about observation of details than almost anything else, you know?
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
Ugh.
You have to be a
that's
stranger in a strange land, I think.
yes.
Oh, I like that.
And I think
Because
that can help our brains know, even if we're not writing, just to get out
Right.
of our regular everything and just,
Yep,
look at things a little differently, maybe more clearly. Yeah.
yep,
I heard
and
somewhere that like one of the best things for brain health is to learn a new thing
yep,
and then tell someone that new thing, which essentially is what writing is
yep,
if you are writing
yeah.
about a process. And so they always this whenever I read this or saw this and where I don't know where it was, it's in the back of my head somewhere. But like you're supposed to learn a thing at night and then tell somebody about it in the morning. And if you can tell them
Oh,
about it while you're walking so that you're doing this bilateral movement at the same time,
yeah.
Oh,
so good for you. Yeah, so I always
So
try to
good for
tell
your
Mark something on our
brain.
walks.
Like, it
Yeah.
makes you so happy, right?
Mhm.
And it was
oh,
funny because when I was in LA, I kept thinking, I know that I was thinking like a person from Wisconsin. And this made it into my book too. I remember thinking when I was there, I was like, wow, in Wisconsin, if there's 7 people laying on the side of the road, you call 911 and you haul them all off. You don't, it was so different. And those are, homelessness isn't funny either, but like those observations, if you can
Yeah.
capitalize on those, it's just so funny. It's
yeah.
like your Trail
Right.
of Tears vacation.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't funny, but it was
Right.
really fun,
Right. All
you
right.
know?
There's nothing funny about a cemetery, but also there kind of is.
Oh my
Oh,
god,
that's so
so many
interesting.
the whole vacation that you had in New York, she went on that vacation and she went on nothing but sad things,
We
and it
did
was
New York and DC. It was all very sad.
oh my god,
Yes.
it cracked me up.
I
So
like to feel all my feelings when I'm on
My kids were
vacation.
like,
like,
"Oh my God, are you crying again? It's spring break." I'm
I
like, yeah,
know.
it's pretty sad.
"We're not going to Disney, baby. Grab your tissues."
Right.
We're gonna
Like
see where
once.
something big went down.
Yep.
Yep, it was
Oh,
so
it's
You're gonna
funny.
learn about America's greatest tragedy right now. Happy
I
oh
spring
my
break.
gosh.
know. Yep,
And then
yeah,
tell somebody about it in the morning while you're walking.
yep.
That's right. We'll talk about
Oh,
it while we walk to the next tragedy tomorrow.
oh
Yeah, and
my
I think
god.
you just have to give yourself permission to find that funny. I think a lot of people would be like, "I
Right.
know I shouldn't be laughing at this," and I'm like, "Oh my
Yeah,
god,
you should.
I
Oh,
laughed on my mom's deathbed. I did.
Right.
There
oh
was
yeah.
something very funny that happened, and I laughed, and I didn't
Right.
feel bad about it.
Yeah.
No.
No. And they
No.
wouldn't want you not to laugh. No,
My
there's
mom
Right.
would have laughed.
yeah.
She would have laughed.
Right.
There's so many different emotions and sometimes
Yeah,
they do come out all at the same time.
That's right. And you're
they
allowed to
do.
feel them all, and
Yes.
you can feel them all the same.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh.
Yes.
Oh my god, I
Yeah.
could talk about this forever.
I
I
know.
know.
Except
I
for I
know.
have to go talk to an orthotist about a, a brace.
Mm.
That's
But oh, let's see.
yeah.
Oh, we've got to make sure that everybody knows where to find you, obviously, and you
Yes. And
and
where
when
to
the new
order
book
your
is
book.
coming out.
Yeah.
My new book comes out. I'm gonna have a first reads. You're the first to know about it, which
Oh.
is it goes free for a month in starting July 1st on Amazon.
Oh.
So if you're a Prime member, you can get it for free. You'll don't
Really?
get it for
Right.
free.
Right. Well, I've already
Yep.
bought it, but I'm gonna give
Oh,
my
Get it free
copy
too.
and buy the
yeah.
note, whatever.
Oh,
Spread the
you
love.
bought it? Oh, you're so
Yeah.
cute. Did
I
they
already
send you a
ordered
book
it.
though? They sent you a book or
No, not
no?
yet. I just
Oh,
pre-ordered.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we love the
Um,
pre-orders.
yeah. So, and then August 1st is when it comes out, and we'll be in bookstores and things like that. And you can find me on Instagram at Ann Garvin with a underscore. That's Twitter as well, and you can find me Ann Garvin on Facebook, and I even have a TikTok, but I'm pretty bad at it because I get kind of tired. But
Yeah. We're
I
not good at that either.
yeah, no, I should be better at it.
Oh, TikTok's so hard.
I
It's
love it.
hard.
Oh, it's so much fun. I don't, I have too many things going on. I have to change my
Right.
passwords every 3 minutes. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
no. So I think that's where you can find me.
All right.
You can get the books wherever they're sold. You can ask your librarian, you can ask your booksellers to get it, and typically they will. I try to encourage people to do that because I think there's no reason why people can't make money on Amazon too. There's absolutely no reason. They just have to order from Amazon. They just made it, just like Ingram and
Right.
the rest of the places.
Yeah.
Penguin sells it on their website. So, yeah, and then I'll have another one coming out in the next August that I'm writing right now. And that's Bummer Camp. It's called Bummer Camp.
Can't wait for that. I
And it's
cannot wait for that
My
one.
God.
no.
I'm
And
going to
that,
pre-order that right now, even though
Right
it's not
now, I
available
know.
for pre-order. I'm
I
pre-ordering
know.
it in my mind.
Yeah, it's about a poor man, Tony Robbins, who creates a summer camp for anxious and depressed adults, but he doesn't have enough money to run it. And so he hires anxious and depressed college students to run it.
Oh my God.
And then he
Oh, great.
disappears 2 days before the enormous press gala that they're supposed to come at camp to save the camp. And they all have to bond together to create a gala with only things that they have at camp. He's very nervous to people have to get it together. So that one's
Oh my
bummer
Oh,
God.
camp.
great.
Oh
Yeah,
God,
and I
I
don't
can't.
think I talked about that. There's no coming back from this. Is they remade Nora Ephron's rom-coms, but with dogs, and she ends up being a costumer, dressing the biggest movie stars and trying to not get discovered because she's a stowaway on set and trying to not have a romance and solve a mystery with one of the iconic Marilyn Monroe costumes. So
Oh my God.
that
Love
So great.
it.
yeah.
Love
Yeah,
it.
that's the one that will be out this August.
Yep,
Yes.
that's coming
Oh,
out this August. So
or July if you're Amazon
Right.
Prime.
or
If
July
you're a
if you're an
Prime.
Amazon Prime. Yep.
It's
Yeah.
only a couple
So
weeks away. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
that's really exciting. It's such a fun time to be me.
And we'll have
It
links
is
to
a
it.
fun time to be you.
We will have
It's a
links
fun
to
time to be
all of it in
in.
the show notes too,
Yeah.
for anybody who's driving and didn't write all that down.
Right. Right. I don't know if we have time for a full look, listen, learn. Should we do a speed look, listen, learn?
I can do a
I'll-
speed look, listen,
Me
learn.
too. I can do a
All
quickie.
right.
I'm very fast.
So if anyone has not been here before and is listening for the first time, we're so glad you're here and we hope you come back. We usually do a few minutes at the end of every show that's something we're looking at, listening to, learning about. We're very loosey-goosey about the categories. It can be kind of whatever you want, serious or fun, and we don't like our guests to have to go first. So Suzanne gets to go first and do her speed round.
I'll go so fast. Let's see. Oh, it's what I was complaining about before. My look is I'm looking at videos of my roof and dormer gutter situation because some roofer went up. There was like 100 degrees and he's on top of a metal roof in Texas and I feel really bad. So I'm looking at those and trying to figure out just absolutely WTF is going on up there. But also looking at Love and Death, which is I don't even know where it's on. It's on one of the TV
I know. I can't
binging
remember.
stations. But it's
Yeah.
got Elizabeth Olsen and Jesse Plemons from Friday Night Lights, which is
Mhm.
fun. And the reason that we were so excited is because it was filmed right around our house.
Oh,
The
fun.
church right down the street. We're still trying to figure out what the heck, but they were like all their vans and trucks and stuff were out around our neighborhood for
Oh,
while they were doing
fun.
that. And I will put a link for the fun article in Texas Monthly about the guys whose house they used. He was a writer. He happened to be a writer, so he wrote about it in Texas Monthly, the main house that they use in this show. And it's just really cool about how they did the interior actually of the set and Kyle, but the exterior and just weighing the decision of like, should I do this or should I not do this? Because famous houses, people just do weird
People just drive by your
stuff
house all the time.
forever. But he's like,
Yeah.
but they also offered me, about twice as much money as I get paid as a writer every year. So yeah. And then I was going to do a learn, but I'm going to save it for the next show because
All right.
we're quick today.
Right. And you can still learn it next week.
Yeah.
What about you, Anne?
What am I looking at? I'm looking at dresses because I have to go to a wedding. And I'm telling you, what is it with dresses? Like you either look like you're going to be on a cruise ship or the mother of the bride. It's so hard, right? Dresses
It is
so hard.
so hard.
so hard every time.
I had to go to a wedding in May. It took forever to find a
It takes
dress.
forever to
Oh,
find a dress that doesn't make me look like I'm wearing a dress. Like, so much.
Just gonna get a dress that says that. Just written
I
on the
was
front.
wearing it. I'm wearing a dress, all right? That's
Awesome.
what I feel like.
This
Like
dress is wearing me.
exactly.
Yes. No,
And
they all are.
I'm learning a lot about apps, and I'm just going to leave that teaser right there because
What?
Oh, there's an app coming, huh?
maybe I don't know.
All right.
And I have been listening to the Julia Louis Dreyfus podcast on Wiser Than Me,
Yes.
and it is so good. Plus, afterwards, you just think you could call Julia and she'd know who you were, and you could just be friends.
Right. I've been
Like, I'd
talking
be
about
like,
her.
Julia, hi.
Yeah.
Yes. Who else? Whitney was talking about that one.
Whitney was
too.
talking
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
So good.
So
Yeah.
good.
It's so good.
Yeah,
Okay,
So
I have to
awesome.
add that. I have not added it. Shame on me.
it's
Add
very
it.
good. It's definitely worth.
Okay,
It's
I'm
so
writing it
good.
down. Writing
Yeah.
it down.
That was one of my look, listen, learns for today, actually.
Oh, was
that.
it? Oh, I
Yeah.
beat you to it.
It's
Yeah,
so funny. My look, listen, learns, I'm dying because you brought up Lori Moore and Who Will Run the Frog Hospital is what
Oh,
I'm
my
rereading
God.
now. It's so
Isn't it? I
so
have it
good.
at my bedside. I love it so much.
Yeah, I read it back. I mean, it came out it was
Oh.
published in the 90s sometimes,
Yeah.
the late 1900s, as my children say.
Yeah.
And I read it and I remember liking it, but I don't really remember it. So I'm rereading that. That's my look and kind of my learn. And then I was going to talk about Wiser Than Me, the episode with Isabel Allende. I mean, talk about laughing and crying. That's why I thought of it for this episode. I mean, I laughed and cried while driving, probably not safe, but everyone needs to
So
listen to
good.
Wiser Than Me.
I wish, like, sometimes I think, oh, I should write down that wise thing they just said, or, oh, and then they're on to another wise thing. So
And
I
I
love
do
it.
love Julia.
Oh,
Do they have in the show notes like a recap of the white things that are wise?
maybe I should look and see. I love
Yeah.
her so much. I just feel like she doesn't know it, but that we're friends. And when
Same.
she
Yeah.
realizes it, she'll be like,
There's something about the way she asks questions and the way she
Right?
responds. It's just so very real and
so real.
friendly.
She always asks the question that I want next asked, and you don't think she's going to ask it because it's so personal, but she does it anyway.
But she does.
A
Oh.
wonderful job. She's
In the
wonderful.
warmest, realest way.
And then
She's
she calls her
incredible.
mom.
And then she calls her mom.
Oh, to
And
talk about
that's-
what she learned.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
It's
really
so
cute.
And they just giggle.
Yeah.
She's like, hi, mommy.
It's adorable.
And Steve, how cute it is.
Oh.
Yeah, it's so good.
Okay, that's official. I'm doing it because I'm not enjoying
Yeah.
the book I'm listening to. So
I'm
gonna add that
obsessed.
podcast instead.
Same.
Yeah.
Obsessed. Yeah.
Oh. You guys, we did it.
We did it.
That
That was the fastest look, listen, learn in the history of the podcast.
So like now we know we can do that.
Oh,
That's
I
what we learned today
know.
is that
But
we
I-
can.
But I want to go on tangents about everything that both of you said, but I will not because
It's so hard not to.
I know.
It's so hard not to. And
You
we
need to
thank you
have
for
a-
being here.
You need to have a second one that's called Unpacking the Podcast.
We could do that for our Patreons, which we have one of. But
Yeah, for our one Patreon. She's gonna get her money worth.
yeah. Yeah, guess what, Kristen?
Yeah.
New content just for you.
Oh my gosh. But,
All
oh,
right,
I
go
hear
to your
someone
call
already
and
is
don't forget to
here.
download the recording.
I am going to download the recording. It was so okay. Yeah,
So nice
see
to
how I
meet
got
you.
distracted? It was so nice to meet you. I wish we could have done this forever and ever and that I could have tangented out like I usually do. But
We'll just have to come
Alas.
back when the
I'll
next
come
book
back.
is coming out.
yes.
Oh, yeah. It's just rather less than a year. I'm more than halfway through writing it. So
Awesome.
I got to get it done, though. I can't screw around because I got to get it to them by October. And then it's going to be a tight
yeah.
publishing thing, I think. But
get
it's fun.
going because
So
we
much
can't
fun
wait to read
I
it.
can't stand how much fun it's right. Yeah.
Mhm.
I love it. Bummer.
Well,
Can't
thank you
wait.
for having me, you guys. It was really
you
fun
for being here.
Thank you
Yeah.
for being
You guys
here.
are
Yes.
so easy.
Oh,
Well,
good.
thanks.
Are we as good as
Thanks.
Julia?
Oh, absolutely. For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure
Just
we are.
slightly less famous. Just a
Slightly
tiny
less
bit.
Oh, I mean,
famous.
that's splitting hairs.
That's right. All right. Well, have a
y'all.
wonderful evening. I guess
Okay,
it's almost evening
you
by now.
too.
Thank you.
All
It was good to
right.
see you, Anne. I'll talk
Good
to
to
you
see you
soon.
too.
Nice to
We'll
meet
talk
you.
soon, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye,
Bye.
y'all.
Thank you so much for joining us for the Mom and podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show today. And if you know someone else who could benefit from today's episode, be sure to share it with them. Also, please subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find links to all the things we discussed today in the show notes over at our website, momandpodcast.com, with the A-N-D spelled out. In between shows, you can find us at the socials, including our private Mom and Community Facebook group. You can find links to the group, all of our socials, and our questions and comments section over at our website, momandpodcast.com. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate you so much. Now go out there and make your ellipses count.